news. Breaking news once again. Breaking news. Angie Stone has passed away, my friends and my enemies. Angie Stone has passed away. So the question is, what does it all mean? She passed away at the tender age of 63. Um, she was still working on things, which means that she's still working on things. She's still alive. She just passed away from that body. But it doesn't mean that she's not alive anymore. It just means that she passed away from that body. But she's all over the place. She's got clones of herself all over the place. In fact, Angie Stone's voice is in many, many more songs than we probably know. And the question is, was Angie Stone given all her royalties for the contributions she has made to music, to the sound of music? Right? Have we done that? Has that been done? So right now I'm trying to get onto Google so I can get more information on what's going on in the news, what's the news service reporting, and then I'm gonna read between the lines with you because I am a stalk by nature. Therefore, I am a read by nature. So I'm gonna read between the lines by the grace of the women so we can find out what this means. But I can tell you for sure. By the way, women, I'm looking for more fans. So can you bring more fans on, please? Thank you, ladies, for bringing more fans on. Bring some of the ones who want to know about entrances of Freemasons and things like that. Bring those on. So I'm going to wait for a few more fans to come in. People who want to learn about the Freemasons. Because the women say they want you in. Okay, I see a few more fans. How you doing? We're talking about Angie Stone's recent death and the connection to the Freemasons. Oh, hi. Without socialism, there is not a fair democracy. Hello. How are you? So you believe that we need to have collective, collective bargaining and things like that in order to have a good democracy. Hello, all the people who are in. Thank you for coming in. We're talking about Angie Stone's recent death, and we're wondering what is God trying to tell us. This is obviously information for us. So if you people claim to be crypt walkers, and if you're really a crypt walker, you're also a crypt keeper, which means you're going to keep information about people who die. You're going to want to know more information about people who die. You can't just, crypt walk is not just a dance, okay? Crypt walk is not just a dance. It's a way of living, okay? So if you're really a crypt walker, you should also be a crypt keeper. If you're a crypt keeper, you're going to find out some information about these dead people, okay? Because there's information in dead people. Dead people carry information too. So Angie Stone is definitely a dead person who has a lot of information, right? So basically, you can learn just as much about a person in their life as you can learn about their death, right? Because the beginning and the ending is inextricably linked. The beginning and the ending is inextricably linked. How you doing, Shan657? So, you gotta be okay with talking about dead people, right? Let's not be, I think in society we make it fearful to talk about death. Like it's a fearful thing because we're afraid of dying. Because if I talk too much about this person's death, then I may have to face the reality of my own, right? So I'm looking for more fans. Oh, good, we got 2 fans here. How you doing? So share this broadcast. We get more leads in. We get more cool air going. So share this broadcast. So listen, we're trying to find out what's up. Angie Stone has passed away. What does it all mean? Her last name is Stone. Angie's last name is Stone, which means nig. It means nig, as in nigger, right? But her last name is just Nig. So it's like you're calling her Angie Nig. Okay? So you can refer to her as Angie Stone or Angie Nig. So Angie Nig has passed away. So the Nig in niggers has passed away. Oh my God. This is huge. So the Nig in niggers has passed away, which means all we're left with is gers or germs or germs. I think that word means germs. We're left with germs. So what does this mean? At the very least, I think it means that the amount of germs that exist are the amount of germs that's going to exist. That we're not going to see any more. Okay, what I'm saying is the germs that are here are the germs that are here, right? And so if we're going to see new variations of germs, it's only going to be based on existing germs, okay? So Angie Stone's death is letting us know that that whatever germs exist are the germs that are going to exist. And if there's going to be new germs that come about, it's going to be based on old germs. You understand? So that means that any new germs that come about, we can cure. So I think Angie Stone is letting us know that we're coming into a new season now where all germs will have a cure. That's amazing. Wow. That's breaking news, people. Breaking news, breaking news. Angie Stone has just let us know that all germs have a cure. That means that means HIV has a cure. That means there's a cure for every germ. Cancer has a cure. There are cures. There are cures, people. There are cures. We are getting access to the cures now because, see, as long as Angie Stone lived, we were going to get access to more and more new germs, novel germs, as long as Angie Stone lived. But now she has passed away, which means that there will be no more these base prefixes to no more spells that produce these germs, right? So whatever germs exist, there's a cure for it, right? The pre-existing germs, there's a cure for it. And if there's any new germs that come in the future, well, if we have the basic building blocks of a cure for the old germs, then we're going to have the building blocks for the cure for the new germs. Okay? So this is breaking news, people. Breaking news is that Angie Stone has just presided over the death of germs as we know it. That means there is a cure. You don't have to get sick and die. I repeat, you don't have to get sick and die anymore. That's the revelation we're getting from Angie Stone's death. That you don't have to get sick and die anymore. That now you can have a controlled way of living. That means there is a way in which you can have eternal life right now. That means there's a way in which you can become immortal right now. So Angie Stone is really, listen, Angie Stone is talking about immortality. Angie Stone is talking, she says it's the death of the stone, the death of the gravestone. Come on, people. Come on. Angie Stone has just presided over the death of the gravestone. That means you don't have to die. My God, my God, my God. This is huge news, people. We need to be celebrating this. Angie Stone's death means we don't have to die. It means that there's a death to the graveyard stone. That means the tombstone has just died. My God, my God, my God. Angie Stone is the death angel. And she's letting us know that the tombstone has just died. Wow. You don't have to. Listen, you don't have to die. This is good news. I don't have to die. You don't have to die. This is what Angie Stone's death is telling us, people. Come on, pay attention. Angie Stone is telling us that we don't have to have a tombstone. We don't have to die. We can live forever. Now, when we talk about death, death is a normal part of life. It happens all the time. Something has to die for something else to live. You know, that dream you had has to die so that it can become a reality. You need something to die. Come on, so that you can live. And so what we're learning from Angie Stone is that death is just new life. Oh, come on, people. Don't be afraid of death. Death is just new life. But the problem is that the way we've been approaching death is from an ignorant point of view. We've been approaching death from, we have not had any understanding of the afterlife, right? Because we didn't research the before life. Okay, so Angie Stone is telling us for the first time we're going to start to research the before life so that we can understand the afterlife and then we can understand the present life. So Angie Stone is giving us a way. She's telling us, listen, this is the way. This is the way. You need to study your before life, people. Come on, people. We need to study what we were before life. What were you? What were you before you came out your mother's womb? Do you know? Do you remember? I can tell you what you were. You were 23 chromosomes in your father's loins, and you were 23 chromosomes in your mother's womb, in her egg. So you were split up. My God, my God, my God, my God. You lived in two places in your before life. My God, my God, my God, my God. So Angie Stone is talking to us. Thanks, Shannon 657 for subscribing. Angie Stone is teaching. She's preaching. And she's telling us about our before life. She's saying, who were you before your mother's womb? Do you remember? And if you don't remember, go pick up a biology textbook and look up the genetics part. And look up the part where it talks about meiosis. Okay? And understand how those sex chromosomes came into being. And that was you. You were 23 sex chromosomes in your mama's egg, and you were 23 sex chromosomes in your father's sperm. Okay? And you were sitting there in his loins, and you were sitting there in her womb. Okay? So Angie Stone is teaching us about life. She's teaching us about the birds and the bees, okay? She's teaching us about the milk and the honey, okay? When you milk a cow, what are you doing? You're getting that sperm to come out of that penis, okay? And then you drink the milk. When you're a baby, it's okay to drink the milk that way. When you're a grown man, you take that seed from that sperm seed and you make it into something different, like ice cream, or you're making it something different. So listen, people, we're always interacting with sex. We are always interacting with sex. Oh, come on, people. Come on, women. Help me, women. Get more fans in here. Okay, you got me. You got me going. You got me. You got me. You got me going. You got me. You got me. You got me going. You got me. You got me. You got me going. Breaking news. Angie Stone has passed away at 63. We're talking more about what these implications mean. We just found that it means, on one side, that Angie Stone has caused all tombstones to be deceased. So we don't have to deal with tombstones anymore because diseases and germs are deceased. So disease is deceased. Thank you, Jesus Christ. Disease has deceased. Thank you, Jesus Christ. Okay? So we're learning that one of the implications of Angie Stone's death is that germs, that there will be no more new baby germs, like building blocks of germs, you know what I mean? That can be made into new germs. That the existing germs are the only germs that we have to deal with right now, and each of those germs have cures. So what the good news is from Angie Stone's passing, what she wants us to know is that germs are no more. Now remember, you can learn just as much about a person in their life as you can in their death. So we're learning more about Angie Stone in her death, just like we would know in her life. because her death means just as much as her life means. Okay, so Angie Stone, I love you, babe. You're my wife. Bring your fans to my broadcast, please, baby. You're my woman. I'm talking to your fans. Bring your fans. Bring your fans. Old fans of Angie Stone, come on down to Chris Lord's broadcast. Come on, Angie Stone. Bring your fans. Bring your fans. Bring your fans. Bring your fans. Bring the fans of niggers. Bring those fans. Bring all the fans, okay? Come on, ladies. Bring the fans. 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 Bring the fans, okay? So this is getting good. So let's look up Angie Stone. Okay, so Angie Stone has passed away at 63, and we're starting to realize the implications of this. One such implication is that germs, there will be no more new building blocks for germs. So that the reason why germs exist is because of niggers, okay? Niggers are the reason why germs exist, okay? So the thing about it is niggers do things. They get you to sign contracts in stone. They get you to sign contracts in stone. So Angie, right, was the chief, I think, nig. If you look at her name, Angie, her first name, Angie, right? You see A nig E, I-E. A nig E, right? A niggy. She's a niggy. So being a niggy as opposed to a nigger, right, means that she employs the niggers. Oh my God. Angie, breaking news, breaking news, okay? Angie Stone, her first name Angie, is a nig-e. Come on, people. Angie is a nig-e. That means she employs, wait, hold on, a niggy, sorry, a niggy, no. She's a niggy means she's employed by the nigger. That's what it is, sorry. So she's a niggy. So a niggy means she's employed by the nigger, right? Because you have your employer and your employee, right? So Angie Stone's name is really a niggy, right? A niggy. If you read it differently, it's a nig, N-G, a nig, and then I-E is E, a niggy, right? So she's not a nigger, right? A nigger is the employer of the niggies, right? A nigger is the employer of the niggies. Get that? So Angie Stone was employed by a nigger. But that nigger has since fired Angie Stone. Okay? So Angie Stone used to be employed by a nigger. That nigger has since fired Angie Stone. So that's why Angie Stone is deceased right now. All right, she has deceased. So a deceased niggy, right, means it's a diseased niggy, right? So she was a diseased niggy. She was a diseased, right? She's a deceased niggy, right? She's a deceased niggy, right? So we're talking about Angie Stone here. Thanks for coming. Share this live. Angie Stone's her first name, Angie. If you repronounce it, it's actually a niggy, right? A niggy. If you just change the way you pronounce it, her name is actually a niggy, which means she was employed by a nigger. Get that? Because you have employer and employee, right? So if you have a niggy, then you must have a nigger. employing that niggy, right? So Angie Stone is a niggy. Understand? Her last name is Stone. If you look up the word N-I-G, which is nig, if you look up nig, it means stone, right? That the builders rejected. It became the what? Cornerstone. And you could etch on that stone something. And the stone that the builders rejected was at Plymouth Rock, right? That stone is there. They never built on that stone. Wow. Or they did, right? Because that stone, so the stone that the builders rejected is at Plymouth Rock, people. The stone is Plymouth Rock. The stone is Plymouth Rock. Angie Stone is pointing to Plymouth Rock. So Plymouth Rock, something has happened. 1620. 1620 was etched into Plymouth Rock. 1620 was etched into Plymouth Rock. And when you change those numbers around, right? When you change those numbers around, right, into letters. So for example, for 1, you change that into an A. And 6, you change that into a F. And the 2, you change it to a B. You get Air Force Base, Ground Zero, right? So that was etched into Plymouth Rock. Air Force Base Ground Zero was etched into Plymouth Rock, right? But now we're learning that rock, that stone, right, has just become deceased. So is Plymouth Rock deceased? I think so, because Plymouth Rock represents slavery. I repeat, Plymouth Rock represents slavery. And slavery really had to do with a white man's decision not to work. Slavery had to do with a white man's decision to be lazy. A white man's decision to be lazy and instead to let the niggers do the work. Now, Angie Stone is a niggy who is just deceased, right? So if the niggy is deceased, that means that the nigger is deceased, which means that, what does it mean? Which means that, what does that mean, ladies? I don't know. What does it mean that, or does it mean, so the niggy is deceased. We know that. The niggy is deceased, which means that the nigger has deceased, right? We know that because the women are in charge of the nigger, right? So does this mean that no longer will we see nigger as a negative term? No longer will we be offended to be called a nigger? Because we'll start to understand that niggers are the ones who are salesmen. They're the ones who get people to buy. And in order to get people to buy, a nigger has to be convincing. A nigger has to be convincing in order to get people to buy. So does that mean that, so Angie Stone's death means that people will no longer be afraid of being called a nigger. No longer will people be saddened when they're called a nigger. They'll start to realize that being a nigger is actually the best position a man can have in society. They'll start to realize that being a nigger is actually the best position for any man in society. So Angie Stone is revealing to us that niggers rule. That's what Angie Stone is referring to us. She's letting us know that if you call yourself a nigger, you rule. That means you rule in death just as much as you rule in life. That's what Angie Stone is teaching us by dying for such a time as this. Notice her name. Her first name is A Nig E. Do you see that? A, and then NG is Nig, and IE is E. A Nig E. So she is a Nig E, not a nigger. You understand? Angie Stone is a niggie, not a nigger. So Angie Stone is saying for those men who will call themselves niggers, doesn't matter your race, doesn't matter where you are in society. If you will call yourself a nigger, then you can gain access. You can get free access into the Freemasons. And if you call yourself a nigger, and you really believe it in your heart that you're a nigger, then the women are going to surprise you, going to give you a sweater. That's your introductory gift, right? That's your introductory gift for calling yourself a nigger and really meaning it. So come on, people. This is the time. Angie Stone was letting us know. Call yourself a nigger and really mean it. Right? Really mean it this time. See, a lot of you call yourselves niggers, but if someone else calls you nigger, you get an attitude. See, that's how the women knew that you really weren't a nigger. You weren't the chief nigger. Because a nigger don't care if a white person call him a nigger. Because he said, damn skippy, I'm a nigger, bitch. And if you knew what was good for you, you'd become a nigger too. Nigger. Wannabe nigger lover. Because that's all you are. You is a wannabe nigger lover. You have not reached the status, right? You have not reached the status of nigger. You're just a wannabe nigger lover, right? That's all you are. Some of you are wannabe nigger lovers, and some of you are nigger lovers. But I am the nigger. I'm the chief nigger, okay? Now, some of you, like I said before, if you really believe in your heart that you're a nigger, it doesn't matter what your skin color looks like, right? Being a nigger is a heart commitment. Some of you men who have beige skin and you don't have brown skin, you're afraid to call yourself a nigger. And you're afraid that if other people call you a nigger, don't be afraid. Let them call you nigger. Receive it. Believe and receive it. That's what Angie Stone is saying, that you want to be a nigger because she's a niggie. Oh my God, my God, my God. My God. They won't go, oh my God. The man goes, oh my God. Listen, Angie Stone is a niggie, right? Think. So that means she is employed by the nigger. And she just passed away. What does that mean? That means that it didn't mean that she stopped being the employee of the nigger. Right? She's just doing work from another dimension. Okay? She just traded places. But she's still employed by the head nigger. You understand what I'm saying? So Angie Stone is giving us some treasure here by her death. She's telling us a way out of our predicaments, people. Listen, why chromosomes? Do you feel like you keep getting rejected? Do you feel broke all the time? Do you feel depressed, busted, and disgusted? Well, Angie Stone has a message for you. A niggy stone. A niggy nig has something for you. She says, call yourself a nigger and mean it in your heart. Love it. Love to be a nigger no matter who call you a nigger. Even if they say it in a nasty way, be thankful. Say thank you. Yes, I am a nigger. I am a nigger. Just be thankful. Be thankful. Okay? I don't care what skin color you are. Nigger is a heart condition. Nigger is not a physical condition. It is a heart condition. If you a real nigger, you a nigger in your heart. So it don't matter if you beige skin. Share this message. It don't matter if you beige skin. You can be a nigger in your heart. And if somebody call you a nigger, you can take it as a compliment in your heart. You can just choose to do that. Who said that being a nigger was bad? Just because some other person said it? Well, Angie Stone says that niggers employ her. That means that a nigger can give her money. That means a nigger got enough money to pay for Angie Stone. What that mean? That mean that nigga is rich. That nigga is rich, bitch. Because not only does that nigga got a bitch, Angie Stone is a bitch, but Angie Stone represents all women. So what Angie Stone is telling us that all women are niggies and they are employed by a chief nigger. That's what Angie Stone is telling us. So if you want to get these women doing what you want them to do, you need to call yourself a nigger and believe it in your heart. Because these women only listen to niggers. My God, my God, my God. This is what Angie Stone wants us to know. This is the gospel. This is the gospel. This is the good news to white chromosomes all over the world. That if you'll just call yourself a nigger and mean it in your heart, commit to it. Don't be like these black niggers, fake black niggers. These fake black niggers call themselves niggers, but when a white person calls them a nigger, they get offended. They fake. They're not really a real nigger. Because a real nigger will never get offended if you call him his name. My God, my God, my God, my God. If my name is Tom, and a white man calls me Tom, versus a black man calls me Tom, yes, I am Uncle Tom. Yes, I am. And I'm not going to get offended. See, that's how you know that that's not a real Uncle Tom. What about Uncle Sam? You only Uncle Sam if you're performing for the Super Bowl, but every other day you're whoever you were. No. I'm Uncle Sam all day, every day of the week, okay? 52 weeks of the year. I'm always going to be Uncle Sam. I'm always going to be Uncle Tom. I'm always going to be a nigga bitch. I'm never going to just take it when it's convenient for me. See, that's the problem with these black men. These so-called self-proclaimed black Y chromosomes. They only want to be an Uncle Tom when it benefits them. When they think it benefits them. But they ignorant. Because you got to understand that Uncle Tom is not just to be used once. Just to get you a job. And then once you get a job, then you somebody else. No, you always Uncle Tom. You can pull Uncle Tom out at any moment, and you can put Uncle Tom back in at any moment. You pull out Nig at any moment, and you put back in Nig any moment. A nigger is a nigger. And Uncle Tom is an Uncle Tom, no matter the occasion. A nigger don't just be a nigger at nighttime when it's time to relax and we not at work no more. No, I'm a nigger at work too. I'm just a chameleon. When you see me at work, I'm still a nigger. So if a white man calling me nigger, I'm saying, thank you for the payday, bitch. Now I'm going to take that and say, this man was racist against me. He called me nigger, and here's the evidence. Now pay me. Pay me, because he called me a nigger. Okay? Ain't nothing wrong with being called a nigger. See, that's your problem. That's your problem. If being called nigger by your woman make you feel good, she say, oh, that's my nigger. My niggas. If that make you feel good, then you're supposed to always feel good to be called a nigger. You're not supposed to never feel bad about being called a nigger. If it felt good the first time, it's supposed to feel good every time after that. And if it doesn't, then you're not really a nigger. You've been exposed. You've been exposed. You's a lying thief. You try to make people think you a nigger, but a real nigger doesn't get offended when you call a nigger by his name. So no, a nigger can't feel good once and then feel bad other times. No, you just never were a nigger. Because if you were a nigger, you'd know what the fuck that shit meant. Because you would know how to fucking read. Because niggas can read. All women are niggas. Which means that the real nigga who owns all those women, he can read. And if you ever feel bad about me saying nigger, it's because you can't read. That's why. Look up the word nig. Look up the word nig. Look up and e. What does it mean to be an employer versus what does it mean to be an employee? A nigger versus a niggy. Angie Stone is preaching. Angie Stone is preaching. She's telling us it's okay to be a nigga. But now, Angie Stone, the nigga, has just passed away, which means you gotta be a nigga in your heart. You gotta find a nigga in you. You need to find a nigga in you. And if you find a nigga in you, nigga, you gonna find all the niggies. And it's gonna be a whole bunch of women. And there goes your virgins. There goes your virgins. The same thing wannabe nigger lovers is blowing themselves up for. The same thing. They blowing themselves up for pussy that's been in their face all along. Something is wrong with them. ISIS and Al Qaeda, they're wannabe nigger lovers. Okay? Wannabe. How you gonna blow yourself up to have something that's already in front of you? The woman, she birthed you into existence, jackass. At the very least, get with the one that birthed you into existence. Why the fuck are you gonna kill yourself to try to get access to something that's already there? Unless you're worse than a retard. They are not to be feared. Do not fear ISIS. That's what Angie Stone is telling us. Do not fear death. She said, I have swallowed up the grave. I have swallowed up the tombstone. The tombstone is dead. Angie Stone, Angie Tombstone is dead. That means you don't have to be afraid of a tombstone. It's dead. It's dead. It's dead to you. A tombstone is dead to you. Being afraid of being called a nigger is dead to you. Nothing scares you. You are courageous. You are strong. You are very strong and very courageous, says Angie Stone. Don't be afraid to be called a nigger. Celebrate it. Don't be afraid of the tombstone. Celebrate it. Let's celebrate death. Day of the Dead. Yay! Let's learn about how death is so instrumental in bringing about life. Let's learn that. How without death, we cannot have life. Let's learn about all the chickens and the turkeys and the broccolis and the spinaches that we pass through death, hell daily. We pass through death, hell, and the grave daily. Chickens, they pass through the death, hell, and the grave daily, and they don't say a word. They're so peaceful and quiet. Why are we so loud and cantankerous to pass through death? Not a big deal. Take it like a man. Stop being afraid to die. That's what Angie Stone is saying. She's saying, don't be afraid of the tombstone. Don't be afraid of the graveyard. Have some parties in the graveyard. Have some parties by the tombstone. Stop being afraid of death. Stop being afraid. Death to fear. Stop being afraid. Right? There are things we should fear, right? Good things, wholesome things, godly things. God herself we want to fear, right? With a righteous, reverential fear, right? But stop fearing death. Death is a normal part of life. Stop fearing being called a nigger or somebody hearing you say the nigger, the N-word. Nigger. You know what? Let's have a strike. Let's just all say nigger all the time for one day. Just say, hey, nigger. Nigger. Let's just say it. Come on, it is not something to be feared. Stop being afraid to express yourself. Nigger. Stop being afraid of words. How are you afraid of a word, nigger? Why are you afraid of a word named nigger? Really? That scares you? Nigger. That hurts you. That scares you? Really? Go get a life. How about that? A word scares you. A word. What are you afraid of? Nigger. Yeah, I'm a nigger. I'm the chief nigger. I'm devil. I'm Satan. I'm Adolf Hitler. All rolled into one. I'm not afraid to call myself Adolf Hitler! Stop being afraid of words. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Why? Because I'm the chief nigger. I'm the chief Adolf Hitler. Throw everything at me, plus the kitchen sink, and guess what? I will never have another fear, an irrational fear again. You have too many irrational fears. That's what Angie Stone is telling you. She's saying stop having so many irrational fears. It is irrational to be feared, to have a fear to be called a nigger. That's irrational. It's just a word. It's just a word. Stop being fearful of someone calling you a nigger. Stop being fearful of someone hearing you say, nigger! Nigger! Stop being fearful of that. Become a man, Y chromosomes. Grow up and become a man. Stop letting simple words be. Come on, listen. If you're afraid of a word like nigger, and it can't even hurt you, nigger can't hurt you. No, what you're afraid of is the sticks and the stones that somebody will throw at you if you say nigger. That's what you're afraid of. You're afraid of someone else. You're not afraid of the word nigger. You're afraid if a real nigger who really believes they the nigger hear you call them a nigger. But why would you be afraid of that? Because if a real nigger who knew they was a nigger heard you call them a nigger, they would reward you. So you're not afraid of a real nigger. You're afraid of the fake niggas. You're afraid of the wannabe nigger lovers. That's what you're afraid of. You're afraid of ones who want the nigger to stick his cock in their ass. That's who you're afraid of, which means you's a punk, because you're afraid of punks. You sissy! Because anyone who wants to stick their cock up another man's ass is a sissy. So that's what Angie Stone is telling you. She's saying, stop being a sissy, you Y chromosomes who claim to be men. Stop being sissies. I'm a nigga, been that way all my life. Angie Stone is a niggy nig. She's a niggy nig. So not only is she a niggy, but she's a very nig, come on, that niggas get her to get you wannabe nigga lovers to sign in stone. Okay? So my question is, why are you so fearful of being called a nigger? It's just a word. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. No. You're afraid of somebody picking up a stick and a stone and hitting you with it because you called them a nigger. Or you called yourself a nigger. That's what you're afraid of. You're afraid of somebody throwing sticks and stones at you. You're afraid of somebody condemning you, calling you an abomination because you have sinned against God. That's what you're afraid of. You're afraid of judgment and condemnation. You're afraid of getting your ass kicked. Because guess what? You never learned how to fight anyway. So if you're afraid of the word nigger, nigger. If you're afraid of Adolf Hitler, you're afraid of all that? You're afraid of those words? Nazi. You're afraid fascism. That scares you. Faggot. Those words scare you. Having people say those words scare you. It's because you're a pussy. It's because you're afraid. You're weak. You're weak. That's what Angie Stone is telling you by her death. She's saying, all my life I've been called a niggy nig. She said, all my life I've been being a niggy and I've been being a nig. She said, and guess what? The chief nigger, he always pay me right. Okay? All right? The chief nigger, do. There's a whole bunch of these fake niggas out there. They call themselves niggas, but they're not really niggers. Because a real nigger never gets offended if you call him a nigger, no matter what your color is. So that's the test. You see, to join the Freemasons and Illuminati, you have to pass tests. Ah. See, a lot of you think you got the 33rd. Some of you think you got the 92nd Freemason. No. See, what happened is that you've been duped. Somebody been playing you and taking all your money. Somebody played you, baby. Because it's not that hard. It is not that hard to join the Freemasons. All you have to do is say, I'm a nigga in my heart, and really mean it. Really mean it. You gotta really believe you a nigga in your heart and really mean that shit. That means you can say it no matter where you at, nigga, 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 nigga. It doesn't matter. Nothing happens to you if you call yourself a nigga or if you, because I call myself a nigga, because I'm the only nigga. You know what I mean? But I might call other people a wannabe nigger lover, right? I might call the white chromosomes wannabe nigger lovers. That's what I call them. The women are nigger lovers. The white chromosomes are wannabe nigger lovers. They want to be a nigger lover so bad. They want to be all up on my cock so bad. Right? All up on my cock. That's why I call them wannabe nigger lovers. Why don't you learn your ABCs? If you learn your ABCs, then you won't get offended when you hear a word. Because you're going to know what it means. See, that's why you don't know what it means. You never learned your ABCs. That's what Squid Games is telling us. You know, Angie Stone is pointing us to Squid Games. She's saying, if you were a kid, and if I gave you, or what she's saying is when you were a kid, you didn't pass the kid games. You don't know how to play the kid games because you never learned your shapes. You never learned your triangle, your circle, and your square. You never learned your ABCs. You never learned your 1, 2, 3s. You never learned your Roy G. Bibbs, your colors. That's why life is so damning to you and hard for you. Okay? And that's why you're so full of inconsistencies. Where 1 minute it's okay to be called a nigger, but the next minute you abhor being called a nigger. And you want to kill anybody who calls you a nigger. Which means you're not really a nigger. Because a real nigger is not going to get offended because someone called them out their name. So stop sitting up there, sitting on the fence, sitting in the court of two opinions. On the one hand, call me a nigger if you're my woman, but on the next hand, if you're a white man, don't call me a nigger. That's got to stop. Either you're going to say you fully nigger, and nope, everybody can call you nigger. You say nigger as much as you want, or you never say the word, and you never accept it as your own. But stop sitting between two opinions as if you're a nigger and you're not a nigger. One day I'm a nigger, next day I'm not a nigger. Right? You're having an identity crisis. It's because you're not a nigger. You never were. You just wanted the benefits that comes with being a nigger, which means you get the women and the money, and people are afraid of you. But you couldn't pass off as being a nigger because when the white man calls you nigger, you got offended. So you're not really a nigger, because a real nigger ain't going to get offended to be called his name. So if you're really a nigger, you wouldn't get offended. That's what Angie Stone is telling us by her death. Okay? She's telling us if you want to be with her, you need to be a nigger in your heart. Okay? You need to be a nigger in your heart. And you'll be initiated, you'll be brought into the Freemasons. They're going to give you a sweater. That's what I got. You get into the Freemasons and Illuminati. It's so easy to become a member of the Freemasons and a member of the Illuminati. Yeah, you can't be afraid of death. You can't be. Because you have to realize that death is a normal part of life. That's what you have to realize. And nobody dies unless God says so. Nobody. And death is just a normal part of life. That seed has to die in order for that flower to bloom. You get your fruit because of death. You get your meals because of death. You get your meals because of hell. If it wasn't for hell, you wouldn't enjoy food. Because all there'd be there is just raw vegetables and raw meat. We need hell. We need evil. We need sin. But what we don't need is impurity. That's what we don't need. And that's what God is railing against from Genesis all the way down to Exodus, all the way down to Revelation, is impurity. That's what we don't need. You see, because if your product is pure extra virgin olive oil, baby, I better not detect anything else in there. I better not detect cantaloupe in there. I better not detect some virus in there. I better not detect it. Your shit better be extra virgin. It best be pure olive oil. It best be pure. Don't tell me that you're selling extra virgin olive oil and you got a whole bunch of soil in there. That's not extra virgin olive oil. That's impure. It's got impurities in it. It's not purely olive oil. It's mixture, right? So you tried to trick me. You tried to trick me. So that's what Angie Stone is railing against, okay, by her death for such a time as this. She's railing against these inconsistencies in our lives. She died March 1st, 2025. She was born December 18th, 1961. She was born in Columbia, South Carolina. And I'm not sure where she died. It must have been in Los Angeles, I'm not sure. Or was it Chicago? I don't know where. So we gotta look up where she passed. But there was a car accident. And we just want to know where that car accident took place. What was the location of the car accident? Does anybody know? You can text it in there. I don't know. I'm just looking right now at some of these things. Okay, yeah. So let's see what it says. This is, I think, spin.com. Angie Stone, a veteran R&B soul singer who first rose to fame in the 1980s with the South Carolina trio The Sequence, has died in a Sprinter van accident while traveling from Alabama. Okay, according to reports, she was 63. So she passed away in Alabama, was born in South Carolina. So she passed away in the same region, which is the South. So she was born in the South and passed away in the South. So that's interesting because when you think of the term nigger, right, certainly was popularized in the South. So what that sounds like to me is maybe she's telling us that nigger term or something in the English language at least came to birth or into being in the South, and so maybe now at least the nig part is dying in the South, right? So it was born in the South, now it's dying in the South. That nig term, because the ger was always kind of there, but now you got this nig, N-I-G. Putting that together, maybe that was popularized and even born in the South, but now it's dead. The nig term is dead in the South. So, like I said before, I think that you can be a nigger now. I think that's what that's telling us, that anybody can be a nigger. That nigger now is a spiritual gift. It's now become a spiritual gift because a nig has just passed away, right? So that means that now to be a nigger, anybody in their heart could believe they're a nigger and you can become a nigger, which means you will have a niggy, right? You'll have Angie Stone helping you. So this is good news, I believe, to anybody out there who wants to reconcile this striving between these two ideals, right? Something that W.E.B. Du Bois really voiced a concern about, thinking that maybe this was going to be a problem. Yes, W.E.B. Du Bois is letting us know that you can't keep halting between two opinions and have a good life. You have to choose a side. So at this point, basically, Angie Stone is saying either choose to be called a nigger or choose to never be called a nigger, but don't sit on the fence with regards to being called a nigger. That means for the black men, stop letting your women call you nigger and the white men can't call you nigger. Stop that. The problem is the inconsistency. It's not that you chose that a white man can't call you that. No, it's that on the one hand, you're telling the women, call me nigger, but on the next hand, you're telling the white man, don't call me nigger. And that's going to be a problem. So, because you're going to have an identity crisis. So what Angie Stone is trying to tell the black men out there is pick a side. Stop halting between two opinions. Either you're a nigger or you're not a nigger. But don't sit up there and tell the women to call you a nigger and tell the white men, don't call me nigger. Don't do that no more. If you want to tell the women to call you a nigger, tell the white men to call you a nigger. All right? Everybody gets to call me a nigger because that's who I be. I'm a nigger 24/7, whether, regardless of whether I'm with a woman or I'm not with a woman, I'm always a nigger. You understand? So that's one of the things. The other thing she's saying is that if you want to get access to the women, you need to humble yourself. And so calling yourself a nigger is the most humble position in all of society because it's feared and reviled. You know what I mean? So she's saying calling yourself a nigger has benefits because then you get access to her, who's a niggy. And she will work for you. She will work for you. So Angie Stone is saying that you can talk to her. Even now, we can talk to her and we can be her nigger. She'll be our niggies. She'll be our niggies, right? She's got clones of herself out there. She's all over the place. That means to say you get paid because now when you working as her boss, right? She got to make sure that you get paid to get her a check. So if you need a job, somebody don't have a job, well, Angie Stone is saying you got a job now. Call yourself a nigger and really mean it, and she's gonna get you some money. And one of the first things, I believe the first thing you're gonna get from these women is a sweater. That's what I got. So somebody's gonna get you a sweater. You're gonna get a sweater. Some kind of way, you're gonna end up getting a sweater. That's the gift. That's the initiation package for anyone who's willing to call himself a nigger. 24/7. No matter who calls you a nigger, you don't get offended. You'll accept that gift. There is a gift in being called a nigger. Share this. Make it go viral. Angie Stone has given us some information. And one of the things she's telling us is don't fear that word nigger. Because if you fear that word, it's not really that you fear the word, you fear the consequences of someone else hearing you use that word and getting offended at you. You fear getting hit with a stick and a stone. That's what you fear. And what the women are telling you is don't fear that anymore because they have put death to the tombstone. So ain't nobody going to hurt you for calling yourself a nigger publicly. Don't worry about that. Okay? If you call yourself a nigger publicly, I don't care what your race is. You can be in the middle of Japan. You can be in the middle of South Korea. You can be in the middle of North Korea. You can be in the middle of the Sudan. I mean, I don't care where you're at. If you call yourself a nigger publicly, ain't nobody gonna do nothing, okay? So just don't worry about it.